So today I want to show you something that's been kind of bugging me for a while now. If you've been following some of my works on the other channel, you know that I, other than Blender, I also like to work with Inkscape a lot, and I've found kind of like a cool workflow to create portraits in Inkscape and then bring them into Blender for lighting and rendering and stuff like that. So this is Inkscape, and right here I have something. I have this really nice portrait that I made, and they're just shapes drawn one on top of over the other, and if you move them around you'll see what's going on with this whole thing. And when I'm done making my portrait in Inkscape and I'm happy with how it looks, I usually bring it over into Blender and for lighting and rendering. And in version 2.8 it works super well. So I'll just go import SVG on my desktop, and in the viewport it'll look kind of weird, but if you switch to rendered mode or even look dev mode, right off the bat it looks how, mostly for the most part, it looks how we had it in inside Inkscape. The only difference that doesn't translate into Blender is if you use lots of gradients. For example, if you look at the eye, I have this gradient that's coloring how the eye looks, and this is what I'm using to just color and get it to look how I want. And then, but if you look at the same file inside Blender, the gradients usually don't translate into Blender, but all the materials, all the shapes that you bring in come with the colors that you already set up inside Inkscape. So that's really handy. It makes it super easy, and you can just select your shape and just tweak the colors right on the fly inside Blender. So that's really cool. But on the eye, where we had the gradient, you'll see that it comes without a material already preset. So, but for the most part, I rarely even use gradients for this kind of thing. So that's just something to look out for. And so the problem that I came across when moving to 2.9 is something happened they changed something in Blender's code, that the layers and how, let me just show you what it looks like inside Blender 2.9. File, import, SVG. Okay, so right off the bat, inside the viewport, it looks kind of similar to how it looked in 2.83, but if you switch to rendered mode, you'll see that it looks really weird. And it's not impossible to work with it here, but I'd have to go in, select every individual shape and start reordering them in the viewport, and that really can get it's not a very convenient way of working. So I've found myself having to go back to 2.83 to do this kind of thing. And you see the final file that I have here. This is how it looks. It also works together with lights. So I have this here. It's a HDRI that I added to light the scene and just tweaked with some curves to get the colors to look how I want right from within the camera. And the lights also affect, I have a point light, and you'll see it affects the portrait that I have, and I can just play with the colors of the lights and tweak with the look of the whole thing. So it's a really nice and handy workflow that I like. But ever since 2.9, I've found that I've had to retain my 2.8 Blender so that I can keep doing this. So that's just something to look out for if you use SVGs a lot in Blender, especially if it's an SVG with lots and lots of layered files. Importing it into Blender might not look exactly how you expect it to look. You might have to go in there and tweak things manually to get it to look how you want. Yeah, so just something to look out for. Yeah, see you in the next one.